With Doom Eternal finally out, we figured it was a perfect time to go through the most iconic part of the series, the demons. We've been jibbing this hellspawn to pieces since 1993, so now we're going through every Doom monster in the series. This is the leaderboard with every Doom monster ever. ZOMBIEMAN. Lots of fellow Marines met a grisly death on the Mars moon base, but some joined the ranks of Hell and got zombified instead. Thankfully, these soldiers are just cannon fodder. Their assault rifles are more like pea shooters. The ZOMBIEMAN isn't much of a threat, but large numbers can still be deadly, especially in higher difficulties where their hit-scanning bullets almost never miss. Shotgun Guy, aka former sergeant. The Shotgun Guy is basically a more devastating ZOMBIEMAN wielding, you guessed it, a shotgun. Their wide-spreading boomstick packs quite the punch, and they can quickly chew through all of Doom Guy's armor and health if he doesn't take them out quickly, especially when they show up in groups. I mean, duh. Okay, I'll stop bringing that up every time. Their hit scanning capabilities make them an absolute first priority throughout the UAC base and Hell at large. Imp. The Imp is the first real-deal hellspawn you see in Doom. This brown mess of pixels is tougher than his human counterparts with more defense and 2 different attacks, a claw swipe and a fireball. Fortunately, single imps are easy to dance with and whittle down quickly with any weapon. As the game's advanced, so did the speed and wall climbing ability of these foes. Demon, or Pinky Demon. Now we finally have a real demonic tank. The Pinky Demon only has a powerful melee bite, but it will always charge Doom Guy to get real close. Keep moving to escape its jaws. Doom 3 cybered the Pinky Demon up a bit, and Doom 2016 further upgraded it to have a highly armored front, making its back the weak point. Spectre. Certain Pinky Demons even have camouflage. These Spectres are nearly transparent, and they're much harder to keep track of and exterminate than Pinky Demons. Thankfully, they're not completely invisible. Just pay close attention, especially in low visibility environments. Baron of Hell. The first real boss, or bosses of Doom, the Barons of Hell, look like your stereotypical goat-influenced demon. Standing twice the size of Doom Guy, these guardians protect the Moon-Mars portals. It's an epic battle, but Barons roam around Hell in droves as just another enemy. They hurl deadly green fireballs and unleash a devastating claw, or hoof attacks if you get too close. And obviously, they became even more intimidating in future iterations. Lost Soul. Most souls banished to Hell don't get turned into badass demons. Evil souls on Earth will get manifested as lost souls, shrieking, floating, flaming skulls that kamikaze themselves into Doom Marines. Maybe you shouldn't have stolen that marble ride, Jerry. These suicidal skulls are fast, and they usually pack more attack and defense than a mere imp or zombieman. Oh, and their Doom 3 version has flesh, so it's way creepier. Cacodemon. Cacodemons are like spheres of destruction. They defy gravity and threaten Doom Guy with an extremely powerful electric energy ball and an extra gnarly bite. Cacodemons are slow, but they're almost as tanky as Barons of Hell, all while flying. And they even got little arms in Doom 64. I like to think of Cacodemons as Cyclops Geodudes that molted. CYBERDEMON. As the first true boss of Doom, the CYBERDEMON guards the Tower of Babel hanging over Hell's Inferno. This demon stands several stories tall and looks like a cybernetic minotaur with a rocket launcher. Turns out that the CYBERDEMON was a UAC experiment with bioorganic demon life and technology. Circle strafing with your own rocket launcher is the classic way to take down this iconic foe. Plasma rounds and the BFG 9000 are always nice options. SPIDERDEMON Mastermind. The SPIDERDEMON Mastermind is the brains behind the initial Hell invasion, and it's nearly as formidable as the CYBERDEMON. Nearly. She doesn't have a rocket launcher, but a barrage from her chain gun can cut down Doom Guy in no time flat. Just keep up the firepower to interrupt her attack animations. Dr. Olivia Pierce kinda gets sacrificed into the SPIDERDEMON Mastermind at the end of Doom 2016 as a dual reward and punishment for her allegiance to the underworld. Heavy Weapon Dude. The Heavy Weapon Dude also sports a chain gun, and this bald bastard isn't afraid to use it. It's a lot of attack power for a common human enemy in Doom 2. Still, he's a hit scanner, so if he can see you, you're in danger. Thankfully, they go down almost as easily as any of the other zombies, especially with Doom 2's new super shotgun, Hell Knight. Hell Knights are basically Barons of Hell with half the defense and more muted colors, but they hit just as hard. Their bald skulls from Doom 3 carried over into Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, so they're a little more distinguishable from the Barons of Hell in those iterations. Arachnotron. The SPIDERDEMON Mastermind is a super cool design and all, but it's just a final boss. Arachnotrons are basically miniature spider demons with a good amount of steel defense. Fortunately, this creaky crawly doesn't inherit the chain gun from Mom. It only has plasma rounds. Plus, Arachnotrons clink and clank, so you can usually hear them coming, as long as they don't warp in. Mancubus. Okay, so there's a few tanky enemies, but the Mancubus is the real tank here. Think demonic Blastoise. These obese monstrosities were pretty slow before Doom 2016, but frankly, they can afford to stand there and take the abuse. Its twin arm rockets are more difficult to dodge than mere singular fire or electric balls, and they can take Doom guys out in a single blast or two. The Mancubus does have cybernetic components, but we'll get to the actual Cyber Mancubus later. Revenant. The Revenant deserves all the notoriety it gets. This gangly bunch of bones is actually the product of sick human-demon experimentation that occurred in the Lazarus Labs. But looking at how they act, you'd think they were born in hell. Not only do they pack a punch, literally they'll punch you, but Revenants shoot heat-seeking rockets that are extraordinarily difficult to evade, even back in Doom 2. Pain Elemental. The Pain Elemental is easily my least favorite demon in old school Doom. This meatball creates lost souls en masse, and it'll keep churning them out until you blow their brains out. And when that happens, they'll explode into 3 additional lost souls. The Pain Elemental is one of the most dangerous enemies in the game and an absolute first priority, and Doom 64 upped the creep factor by giving them an extra mouth. Joy. Archvile. So what's more threatening than a demon that can spawn monsters? Well, how about a demon that can resurrect monsters with telekinetic pyro abilities that's also naked? The Archvile is arguably the biggest threat in all of Doom 2. Nothing worse than clearing a battlefield only to hear an Archvile warp in and start undoing all your hard slaughtering work. Despite its thin naked frame, the Archvile can stand up to copious amounts of lighter plasma. Without cover, any line of sight with the Archvile that lasts more than a few moments spells certain death. This thing can basically light you ablaze just by looking at you. Icon of Sin. The big bad of Doom 2 is indeed big. This Icon of Sin, also known as Baphomet, is honestly just a glorified wall texture in the original Doom 2, but it's still a threat. Instead of attacking Doom Guy directly, he simply spews skull spheres containing demons from throughout the game. They could have imps, they could have archviles. Fortunately, the Icon of Sin has one glaring weakness, the exposed bit of brain on its skull. A few well-timed rockets will take down this mother demon. But not the mother demon. We'll get to that matriarch in a bit. If you clip through the wall, you'll see Baphomet was John Romero's head on a spike the whole time. And of course, spoilers, he comes back in a big way in Doom Eternal. The Icon of Sin, not John Romero. Wolfenstein SS. In practice, the Wolfenstein SS is basically a reskinned German-speaking zombie man with slightly higher health. But they're also Nazis. That makes them way scarier. As part of the secret Doom 2 levels 31 and 32, this iconic baddie is a throwback to the common enemies found throughout Castle Wolfenstein in the Doom predecessor, Wolfenstein 3D. Mein Leben indeed. Commander Keen. And then we have the Easter egg within the secret level Easter eggs of Doom 2. The space-exploring Commander Keen shows up in map 32 hanging from a noose, completely harmless to Doom Guy. It doesn't stop Doom Guy from jibbing him anyway, though. Nightmare Spectre. The Doom PlayStation port wasn't quite as crisp or complete as the actual original PC releases of Doom and Doom 2, but it did have the Nightmare Spectre. It's got a different tint of camouflage than the Spectre, and it's faster and even tankier. It's a shame these nightmares never showed up in another Doom game or port. Nightmare Imp. Doom 64 didn't introduce many new enemies, but it did give most classic Doom monsters a nice little makeover. It also gave us the Nightmare Imp, sort of the Spectre version of the Imp. No, it's not quite transparent, but their dark hue blends into Doom 64's dim lighting. Although it has similar attack and defense with the vanilla Imp, the Nightmare Imp's fireball takes on a cool shade of purple. Mother Demon. After the events of the first Doom, the moons of Mars were heavily bombarded with radiation, but one creature used this radiation to escape detection and resurrect a hellish army. The Mother Demon looks like some kind of stubby insect that flies around like the Cacodemon, but she's just as fast as Doom Guy. This Queen Bee attacks Doom Guy with a combination of flame trails and tracking fireballs that subsequently split into more fireballs. Thankfully, she can be taken down pretty easily with the Unmaker if it's been powered up with all 3 demon keys. Doom 3 ZOMBIEMAN and ZSEC. Okay, ZOMBIEMAN in Doom 3 lose their long-range assault rifle firepower from the original Doom. Instead, they just attack like classic brainless zombies because they're mere civilians. They come in a variety of outfits and sizes, but they're all pretty harmless. Armed zombies are now known as ZSEC, or Zombie Security. These more intelligent demon undead come in a few varieties, sporting either a pistol, shotgun, or machine gun. Morgue Zombie. The Morgue Zombie is just like Doom 3's civilian zombie man, unarmed, weak, and easy to kill. But this skinny sack of bones Morgue Zombie is even weaker than the other zombies, probably because they were already a cadaver before the Hell outbreak. They're gimped enough to include as a separate entry. Fat Zombie. So the Morgue Zombie is skinny, and the Fat Zombie is fat, and fat enough to include as a separate entry as well. Unarmed, this guy is still barely a threat, but notably has slightly stronger defense than more metabolically blessed zombies. Chainsaw Zombie. Then there's the Chainsaw Zombie, former maintenance workers who turned Doomguy's iconic shredder against him. The Chainsaw Zombie is also known as Sawyer. Flaming Zombie. With inexplicably even more health than the Fat Zombie, the Flaming Zombie usually comes about through some cliched scripted event like a leaky pipe setting a zombie ablaze. This zombie also has a nickname, Bernie. Zombie Commando. The Zombie Commando is like Doom 3's heavy gunner dude, but they still have plenty of differences. The evil Betruger individually transformed these Marines into super soldiers. Some do sport chain guns like their Sprite counterparts, but one version uses tentacle arms and high mobility to harass the Doom Marine. Cherub. I know cherubs look like babies, but this thing is far too disturbing to have been formerly human. These tots swarm like a kindergarten of flies. Many fans believe that cherubs are the children of mancubuses due to their close proximity to one another throughout the game. I seriously still can't get their little demonic baby coo sound out of my ears all these years later. WRAITH. Doom 3's new Wraiths look a lot like Doom 3's imps, and they're just as strong too. These hunched foes are best defined by their extended claw-like arms and, of course, teleportation abilities. Pretty hard to hit a target that defies the laws of physics and relativity. MAGGOT. Quite possibly the disgusting offspring of imps and wraiths is the aptly named MAGGOT. These five-legged stumps may have low health, but they're insanely mobile and able to use their powerful hind legs to launch themselves towards the Doom Marine. Would be a lot easier to kill them if they weren't so darn fast and hunched over. Kinda reminds me of a nightmarish Quasimodo. Trite. So we've seen plenty of cyber-enhanced demonic spiders with the Arachnotrons and SPIDERDEMON Mastermind so far, but no regular little demonic spiders. Well, the Trite is here to change that. Thankfully, the Trites go down about as easily as a regular daddy longleg, but per usual, watch out for them in a swarm. Tick. The ticks are slightly less common and slightly more spidery and mobile than Trites. They can jump a little further, but their bite back's a slightly smaller punch. Vagary. The first boss of Doom 3 is kinda like the spider mommy of the ticks and trites. This half-woman, half-spider looks like the obnoxious, arachnid-esque Vor from the Quake series. There's no SPIDERDEMON Mastermind in Doom 3, but you could argue the Vagary is this game's iteration of the iconic Big Bad. What really sets the Vagary apart is its new telekinetic ability. It really uses its debris-filled rock cavern habitat to its advantage. Sabaoth. Sabaoth is the demonic metamorphosis of the no-nonsense Sergeant Kelly. Sabaoth brings tanky to a whole nother level. It is completely morphed with heavy artillery and a literal tank lower torso, and Sergeant Kelly shows what happens when you give a highly intelligent demon spawn the BFG 9000. That's way more dangerous than the iconic CyberDemon's rocket launcher, but Sabaoth ultimately proves to be a smaller threat and kind of a pushover. Guardian of Hell. As the crocodilian protector of the Soul Cube, the Guardian of Hell sports a badass medieval mace tail coupled with Morningstar hands. It attacks by both charging and sending energy blasts by pounding the ground. The Guardian of Hell can really take a lot of lead. In fact, it's completely invulnerable to all attacks and firepower outside of a small weak spot on its back that's almost always covered. Fortunately, this ancient fart is blind and relies on floating entities known as Seekers to see. Seekers. Seekers act as the eyes of the Guardian, flying around its arena and alerting the beasts to your location. But they're also the key to defeating it. When they're fully wiped out, the Guardian has no choice but to create more, exposing its weak point on its back in the process. Biosuit Zombie. The new zombie enemy in Resurrection of Evil is pretty harmless. Biosuit zombies only use the default Doom 3 zombie melee arm flail, but they can survive in toxic environments. They'll even grant you oxygen tanks. Well, in the non-BFG edition at least. Forgotten One. You know, it's kinda weird that Forgotten Ones have their own entry, but Doom 3's Lost Souls don't. Forgotten Ones are really the ones that closely resemble the flaming skull of the original Lost Soul. But the fleshy Lost Soul of Doom 3, which acts exactly the same, is actually called Lost Souls, so, well, here we are. Whatever you call them, Lost Souls and Forgotten Ones are a bit less threatening than the old Doom 1 and 2 sprite version. Vulgar. Vulgars are like Doom 3's imps, but slightly more ape-like and with a long tail. Now that I think about it, both imps and vulgars are so unbelievably more acrobatic than their original versions that they kinda deserve their own entry. And this iteration of the common imp-like demon made it all the way to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. Bruiser. Well, what do you get when you cross a Mancubus with a Hell Knight? You get a Bruiser. A muscle-fueled, highly agile, fireball-blasting menace. The Bruiser is probably most distinguished by the surreal television screen attached to its face. Sometimes it shows garish teeth and gums, while other times it's just a glaring eyeball. Oh, what the hell, man. HELLTIME Hunter. The first of Resurrection of Evil's 3 Hell Hunters is the HELLTIME variety. The MALEDICT ordered these enhanced Doom 3 iteration Hell Knights to retrieve the artifact. The levitating HELLTIME brand hunter is able to slow down time. You can tell by the way it suddenly speeds up and jumps across the arena. Otherwise, he throws weak fireballs and is generally a pushover. And when the Doom Marine beats the HELLTIME Hunter, he can freeze time too. Berserk Hunter. The Berserk Hunter is a roid-raging behemoth that solves his problems with his fists. This dude basically throws a temper tantrum and wails on you with all the passion and energy of a 4-year-old in a supermarket. Thankfully, the Doom Marine can use this public freakout power-up too. Invulnerability Hunter. The Invulnerability Hunter is completely invulnerable to attacks when it's surrounded by a sparkly glow. This Edward Cullen wannabe draws his energy from nearby coils, and can use this electricity to attack as well. Destroying the coils renders it, well, invulnerable, but it's still tough to whittle down the most powerful of the 3 Hell Hunters. At least the invulnerability ability you get is totally worth it. Maledict. And finally, we have the final boss of Resurrection of Evil, Maledict. This thing is the demonic form of the diabolical Dr. Betrüger who masterminded the entire Mars demon invasion. Now he's a winged skeletal monstrosity with classic demonic horns. If that wasn't creepy enough, Betrüger's human head chills in his mouth a la the Xenomorph's second jaw. Not gonna lie, it was super frustrating not being able to blow this guy's brains out in the original game, but his final comeuppance in the expansion were oh so satisfying. Canine. Okay, so the Doom mobile RPGs introduce a ton of new enemies, and I simply refuse to leave them out. If you actually played this pre-smartphone mobile game, hey, you get a gold star. And we gotta start with the Canine class of demons. There's the basic brown hellhounds, tougher red Cerberuses, Cerberi, and the most powerful of them all, the blue demon wolves, Kronos. According to the RPG's lore, Kronos created the CYBERDEMON. This corrupted scientist is responsible for the demon invasion at large, and is ultimately transformed into a powerful demon resembling a skeletal mother demon, Succubus. The Succubus is the first unique enemy of Doom 2 RPG, and it's one of my favorite pun-based enemies of all time. These chainsaw goblins come in 3 varieties: the boring, pathetic, brown, lesser Succubus, green, greater Succubuses, and powerful red chainstrosities. Zombie civilians. Unique to the RPG version of the Doom 2 Hell Invasion, we have civilian zombies, unlike the soldier zombies. It makes sense, Doom 2 is Hell on Earth after all. There are the regular civilians and the slightly more equipped worker and technician zombies. Similar to Doom 3 zombies, but different enough to include here. Watchers. The security-based Watcher class are like legless, cloakless, ring wraiths with the arms of Ents. There's the Brown Briar, Green Sentinel, and Red Watcher. Sentry Bot. Every RPG has a generic fodder enemy. Some use bats, some use rats, some use ratitas. Doom 2 RPG uses red sentry bots. Pinkinator. The Pinkinator is the first new boss of Doom 2 RPG. This pink grotesque blob of flesh reminds me of that blob from that Goosebumps book with the haunted typewriter. Anyone? Whatever. Pinkinator is a huge threat because it has the ability to rapidly spawn everyone's favorite tank, the Pinky Demon. Vios. John Romero, eat your heart out. The new final boss of Doom 2 RPG is Vios, or the virtual icon of sin. This computer virus is found throughout the game, corrupting data and consoles left and right, building its strength for the final confrontation. Doom Guy can fight it along his adventures and try to delete the files to keep it from reaching its final form, or can pull a Vegeta and wait to take it on at obscene full strength in the end. Possessed. Oh boy, are these guys arguably the weakest enemy in the game of all the games. The Possessed lumber around, unarmed, and can barely attack. They ultimately help to make the Doomslayer feel so damn powerful. I'm just gonna go ahead and lump the scientists and workers together, and oh, the unwilling were just ancient Possessed that were summoned to Hell to work as slaves. Possessed Engineer. The Possessed Engineer is different enough to include separately, mainly because it's actually a threat. This thing is fused with an explosive tank it was working with during the Hell takeover. As such, it's a ticking time bomb capable of blowing itself up along with the Doomslayer. Thankfully, this highly volatile zombie can be used to explode hordes of demons as well. Possessed Soldier. The Possessed Soldier is kind of a throwback to the armed zombie man of the original Doom and ZSEC, but this new version looks far more demonic and sports a plasma gun. These soldiers exhibit behavior that are a little smarter than the civilians, often moving around tactically, using cover, and ultimately not being a complete dumbass. Possessed Security. If the Possessed Soldier is the spiritual successor of the Zombie Man, the Possessed Security is the spiritual successor of the Shotgun Dude. They have a shotgun, but they also have a surprisingly resilient energy shield. Okay, I was kinda decent at Doom 2016, I got through Ultraviolence at least fairly easily, but I always had so much trouble flanking the Possessed Security before getting blasted. Maybe it's just me and I suck, I don't know, we're moving on. Hellraiser. The new Hellraiser usually fights alongside the Possessed Soldiers in security. The Hellraiser kinda looks like a beefy imp, but with laser guns of harnessed, concentrated pure hell energy. They almost feel like the soldier within the imp race, but don't get your hopes up, Hellraiser. Like imps, you go down pretty easily. Cybermencubus. I told you we'd get to this big guy eventually. A clearly more powerful version of the Mencubus, the Cyber version has even more defensive armor. Instead of using fire-based attacks, it now uses some type of toxic green sludge. Gore Nest. You may not think the Gore Nest is a true monster, but it is a mess of organic hell tissue that the Doomslayer can annihilate. so I'd say it fits the criteria. Gore nests are portals to hell. When Doomslayer destroys them, a wide variety of demons are pinged to their location to ambush the Doomslayer. Spoiler, it never works. Hell Guard. These golem-esque, bionicle-looking guardians are actually controlled by parasitic leech-like hell beings. They're tasked with guarding the powerful Crucible sword deep within the hellish necropolis. Hell Guards wield a powerful mace and staff, and can also shoot fire and hell energy at the Doomslayer. The first one he encounters solo also has an extremely obnoxious energy defensive shield. Summoner. Okay, so the Summoner was clearly inspired by and supposed to be the Archvile iteration in Doom 2016, but I'm so glad they changed the name. This thing simply doesn't live up to its predecessor. It can still summon enemies, and this time it practically warps around the room, but its flame trail attack can be dodged. Yeah, dodged. These things aren't even close to the original Archvile. That being said, I still usually use up my chainsaw gasoline on these guys. Thankfully, Doom Eternal brings the Archvile legacy back to its former glory. Harvester. The Harvester is the first multiplayer exclusive Doom monster. This thing kinda looks like a cross between a Summoner and a Hell Knight, but the Harvester's soul-sucking unique attack is what really sets it apart. It can absorb the life force from any player, and takes more energy from healthier Slayers. Harvesters can then use this harvested energy to deploy a BFG 9000 type energy attack. It's a great equalizer. Prowler. The Prowler is another multiplayer exclusive monster in Doom 2016. This purple, muscle-pumped imp can leap around any map with an extremely high rate of mobility, and looks just like the Nightmare imps. Unfortunately, the Prowler can only melee attack through these huge leaps, so one should have a mastery of movement if they want to fight online. Prowler showed up again as an actual campaign enemy on Earth in Doom Eternal, which brings us to Doom Eternal. MECHA-ZOMBIE. Doom Eternal brings back the throwback shotgun guys and ZOMBIEMAN from the old Doom, but also introduces the MECHA-ZOMBIE. Despite its cybernetic upgrades like claws and a railgun, these undead are completely disposable and hardly register as a valid threat to the Doomslayer. Gargoyle. The Gargoyle is a flying imp-like demon known for its high mobility and acid spit a la the Xenomorph. Interestingly enough, even though there have been plenty of flying enemies throughout the Doom series, this is the first common demon who actually has wings, the only other one being the Maledict. Carcass. The Carcass resembles a former human possessed by the powers of hell and then given 6 cybernetic enhancements. These include 3 insect-like legs and a laser arm cannon. With their small energy shields, Carcasses are a huge defensive asset for a demonic horde. They can slow down the Doomslayer's reign of fury. Slow down, but never stop it. Those energy shields are fortunately weak to energy weapons. Tyrant. Remember how the Arachnotron made a super cool boss into a common enemy sprinkled throughout the game? Well, the CYBERDEMON, arguably the most iconic boss of the Doom franchise, never got this treatment until Doom Eternal. Maybe if we had the Tyrant 25 years ago, we wouldn't have had to deal with the CYBERDEMON in the second frickin' map of Thy Flesh Consumed. Tentacle. You can find tentacles throughout Doom Eternal's dystopian Earth as environmentally integrated enemies, hiding in the depths of disgusting purple pools. I can't help but remember the 90s Doom clone Star Wars Dark Forces and the sewer-dwelling tentacled Dianoga. Whiplash. I like to think the Whiplash's name works on 2 levels. One, it wields dual whip-like blades that would make any member of the Belmont family seethe with jealousy, and of course, it has a whip-like snake body, granting it slithery, creepy mobility unlike anything we've previously seen in the Doom universe. Dread Knight. The Cyber Mancubus was a cool upgrade and all, but the Dread Knight is like a whole new level of evolution. Where the Hell Knight is limited to mere melee rushes, the Dread Knight can use its laser energy blades to either slice and dice from up close or shoot energy projectiles from afar. Marauder. The Marauder is somewhat of a throwback to Quake's Death Knights. Heavily armored and kind of medieval, the Marauder has a lot of tools at its disposal, including an energy battle axe capable of ranged attacks and a closer ranged super shotgun. If that's not bad enough, he also turns man's best friend against our hero. Marauder can summon Hellhounds for ambushes. Hellhounds. Weak alone, but strong in numbers, these Marauder byproducts can successfully lunge in packs. The Gladiator. The Gladiator takes on the Doomslayer as a boss in a, well, gladiator-esque Colosseum arena. He looks a lot like the original Baron of Hell, and is joined by summoned zombies as he relentlessly attacks with an energy mace. He starts out with a large shield, but quickly drops it for a second flail that he can spin rapidly to create an even more effective defense. Doom Hunter. The Doom Hunter is another nearly literal tank that we meet in Doom Eternal. It kinda looks like our buddy Sergeant Kelly from Doom 3, and despite its lack of BFG 9000, it's still absolutely armed to the teeth. It attacks with rockets, an arm cannon, and even a double-bladed chainsaw a la Doom 64. Man, Doomslayer really can't escape karma from his own tools, can he? Maker Drone. The Maker Drones are a total pest, especially during the final confrontation with the godlike Khan Maker. These darker, literally grounded versions of their master rapidly fire energy from their forehead and act as the perfect appetizer to the real big bad, Khan Maker. Okay, spoiler alert. The big brain antagonist of Doom Eternal is the supreme leader of the Makers, known as Khan Maker. Khan Maker rules over the realm of Urdak, an ancient civilization mastering the use of the demonic Argent energy. The Khan Maker almost takes an angelic form during its final confrontation with the Doomslayer, unleashing its wrath in the sky while also being aided by pesky Maker drone doppelgangers. But ultimately, even a god stands no chance against the Doomslayer. This cast of characters has really taken us to hell and back again. What's your personal favorite? I'll always have a soft spot for the spooky, scary Revenant. Let us know in the comments below if you want more Doom content, and subscribe for more every ever videos like this one. I'm Marcus with the Leaderboard. Thanks for watching.